but I'll have to share that another time. So we're gonna start getting ready to head over to the film area. It's 6:32 right now, and we'll start heading over to the film area probably in about 10 minutes. So thank you all again for listening. I appreciate it so much, and I'm glad I was able to share this music with you.
Hello, hello, hello. I really needed that because I haven't done public speaking in a while. You guys gotta let me talk. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Silsan Abdurrahman. I'm our Clean and Green campaign manager here at Chispa Arizona and also the director and producer of today's film. So before I get started, I'm going to call up our interpreter, Brenda, who's going to explain a little bit about the interpretation she's providing today. So welcome, Brenda.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Lopez with Spanglish Services. I do interpretation into Spanish and vice versa. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Brenda con Spanglish Services. Hago interpretación de inglés a español, español a inglés. Si necesita interpretación, voy a estar ahí en la esquina. If you need interpretation, I'll be right there in the corner. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And before I get started with today's program, I'm also going to invite up our organizing director, Masavi Perea, to do a land acknowledgement for us and ground us today. So, Masavi, where are you at? Masavi! Woo! Give it up for Masavi.
Hello, hello. Thank you. Hello, hello, everyone. My name is Masavi Perea. I'm the organizing director for Chispa Arizona. And I'm very happy, very proud to be here. And I'm going to read the land acknowledgement for Chispa Arizona. So every day, Chispa Arizona fights for environmental justice, and our diverse backgrounds reflect the courage and conviction needed for transformational environmental advocacy. Our work addresses the reality of colonization brought on by first Spanish and then European conquest in the state of Arizona. These traumatic periods are violent experiences and are continued through American institutionalized systems founded on genocide, theft, and manipulation that target indigenous people to this day. To be better relatives, we humbly acknowledge we are uninvited guests on stolen and ceded territories. Our office is situated on the ancestral land of the Oram and Pipach, And the work we do is in the state of Arizona, which is home to 22 federal recognized indigenous nations belonging to the Oram, Pipach, Yavapai, Walupai, Havasupai, Apache, Quechan, Yaqui, Hopi, Navajo, Pueblo of Sonny, Paute, Mojave, Cocopa, and Chemehuevis. To this day, our indigenous relatives protect the sacredness of the land we all depend on, and they have tended to this responsibility since time immemorial by utilizing sustainable practices fit for the bountiful land that make up what we know as Arizona. This responsibility, rather than being exclusive to one community, should be practiced among every individual who occupies a stolen territory. Colonization is an everyday battle for indigenous relatives, and at Chispa Arizona, we will work to address the genocidal, violent, and erasable practice in place today. This will ensure our movement remains equitable and inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Masavi, for grounding us, reminding us of what land we are occupying. So again, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to screen this film for you all tonight. Before I get started, I do want to give some thank yous to our partners. First and foremost, to the Audubon Center for letting us use this beautiful venue today. Y'all, how beautiful is this space? It's absolutely beautiful. And they volunteered it for free for us, so shout out to them. We really appreciate y'all. I also want to give a big shout out to Dream, the funder of this film. Thank you so much for trusting me to spend your money. And thank you, Emily and Ivana, for all your support. I appreciate you both. I want to give a shout out to my people at Instituto, Victoria, Desiree. They helped us synthesize all the data we did from our surveys that you guys see in the infographic that you picked up on your way in. So thank you, Instituto, for your help. Also want to give a big shout out to Neta, who designed our graphics for tonight, all of our materials, made everything look beautiful. Shouts out to them, they're amazing. As well as Cesar Graphics, who created our photo area, and Dig It Phoenix Gardens as well. I have a few more shout outs, please bear with me. I want to give a shout out to Jorge with Estero Beach Tacos. How was the food, y'all? Yeah, Jorge, you hear that? Yeah. That's my neighbor. And lastly, I want to thank Latest Craze Production. These are the guys who have made it possible for us to do all this beautiful lighting and screens and audio, and so that people can also watch this event virtually right now. So thank you all so much. I appreciate your help. Last shout out, I want to give a shout out to our representative, our senator-to-be, Ana Hernandez. Our future state senator, thank you so much for coming here and coming to listen to the stories of community. We're so excited to see you in the legislature. We're excited to see you, you know. Yup! Thank you so much. Okay, so I also want to invite one more person up to the stage, our executive director of Chispa Arizona, to talk to you all a little bit about what Chispa Arizona is and what we do. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Vianney Olivier. Sorry, Vianney. Everyone messes up my last name too.
We know the struggle. Hi, everybody. Let me not fall. And let me get to the middle. Okay, I did not fall. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Vianney Olivarria, which I know I recognize it is a little difficult to say. I am the state director for Chispa Arizona. And honestly, I just want to welcome you all to this beautiful, amazing event to reimagine safety together. Very recently, a really good friend of mine reminded me of a quote that stuck with me ever since I saw her, honestly, on her Instagram page, and I was like, oh, I like that. And I forgot about that quote. And it is a quote by the activist Grace Lee Boggs that says, you cannot change any society unless you take responsibility for it, unless you see yourself as belonging to it and responsible for changing it. And that is exactly why we are here, to build a vision of a society that is better for all of us and not just a few of us. At Chispa Arizona, we organize within the Latinx community to build political power and civic engagement, to build a better future, and to advocate for local and statewide environmental priorities around clean energy, climate change, climate justice, public lands and parks, and a healthy democracy. And we hold elected officials and corporate polluters accountable. Thank you. Yes. Arizona is at the front lines of the climate crisis, and it is felt the most by impacted communities such as Black communities, Indigenous communities, and Latino communities. The extreme heat and pollution that we face throughout, specifically South Phoenix, West Phoenix, and in many other rural areas in Arizona, needs to end. In Chispa Arizona launched in 2014 an electric school bus campaign that was very targeted to school buses, so we could change and transform the way that our kids transported every day to school. Years later, in 2021, after many conversations with our members, we decided and we heard that we needed to do something bigger. And we began the foundations of what it is now, the Clean and Green campaign, led by the amazing Susan. Yes. I cannot say in many, many words how proud I am of the entire work that went into this, from the entire team, from all the partners who supported, and from all the community members who gave their time and the effort to participate in this event and to be here today. So without saying any more, I just want to thank you for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this film, and I hope you join us in future events to keep advocating for the societies that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Vianney. Thank you, Vianney. For folks who are standing, feel free to find some seats. Get cozy, y'all. You're going to be here for a little bit. Come on in. Don't be shy. All right, so I want to talk to you all a little bit about our Clean and Green campaign and why we decided to create this film. So we launched our Clean and Green campaign at the beginning of this year. And in this campaign, we're fighting for a few things. The first is an improved public transit system. And what we mean by that is a transit system that's reliable, that's free, and that's electric. We're also advocating for more tree shade equity and public parks, specifically in South and West Phoenix, where we know communities have been historically left behind when it comes to those investments. Anyone who lives here in Phoenix can see the difference between when you're driving through the East Valley and as soon as you hit the west side or the south side, and just the lack of tree shade. This contributes to a difference of 14 years life expectancy between the West Valley and the East Valley because of factors such as extreme heat and poor air quality. So that's why we launched the campaign. The reason I came up with the idea to create this film is because as I've been doing this advocacy work, I've found myself in a lot of spaces that are full of clean energy experts and policy wonks and elected officials, and there's no community representation in any of these spaces, and there's no one in any of these spaces who actually rely on these systems. The people who are most impacted are not being consulted on how to create solutions. And so that is why we decided to create this community storytelling project. What you're gonna see today is the stories of 9 different community members and their experiences navigating our transit system, accessing our parks, and experiences also with things like housing and gentrification. All of that intersects to the environmental justice movement, and that hopefully will make more sense after the film. But I'm gonna stop talking now and give you all what you came here for. Without further ado, the Clean and Green campaign presents a community storytelling series.
My name is Cameron James Thompson. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. Been here all my life. Good city, good place to be. Besides if you're afraid of the heat. It's the middle of the summer in Arizona. It's really hot. It's hard to either just deal with it or find other ways of try to stay out of the heat. And a lot of people right now living on the street, they're suffering in the heat. It gets so frustrating, and not having enough places around that are close. And the hydration stations that we do have, they're not open long enough. They're only open for a set amount of time for summer. I would love for the parks to be more accessible for everyone. You know, in a public park, that's where everyone gathers. That's also a place with the trees, with a water fountain, maybe a public bathroom, you know, that you can use. If you're there too long underneath a tree, you know what I mean, or you're sleeping or whatever, because it's so hot. And then you gotta deal with the police coming out there getting mad because they're getting repeatedly called for people just sitting there because there's no relief. But we have a public park that we all pay taxes for, that we're allowed to do this. Cops keep coming. No matter what, it gets tiring. Is it harming somebody? See, everyone's part of the community. Even if you're homeless or you have a house, everyone needs to be able to have access to shade, water. So we all should be able to be at the park. We need all parks to be open to everyone in our community.
My name is Maite. I am queer, non-binary. I've been living in Phoenix for about 8 years. I'm originally from Nogales. I do identify as a professional pedestrian. I've been taking the light rail and the bus ever since I moved up here. Over the years, my health just kind of deteriorated. I got hit by a car twice trying to get to work. I developed severe asthma. Sometimes my ankle gives out just because of how much I travel on foot. I have a daily inhaler that I use now. There isn't really a day that goes by where I don't use my inhaler. Some of the causes for poor air quality in Phoenix are just the fact that there are so many people driving. Part of that is because we don't have a reliable public transit system. We should have more shaded areas. I sometimes wish that light rail stations would be covered. This is a stop I get off to go to work and to get on when I go home. So you can see there's a lot of pollution. It's not the healthiest air to be breathing while I'm waiting. We need a public transit system that's 100% electric.
My name is Leah. I am 15 years old. I go to Copper Canyon High School. I use the public transit for school every day, or when I need it. So as a student, the free bus fare has been very helpful, really. What I've noticed that the bus fare has been going up ever since the pandemic, and it's been difficult. Sometimes I'm stuck with the choice of getting my lunch or going on the bus. The transportation system needs to be free because we don't know how has in their pocket. What if they don't have a bus pass at all? And if we don't have to ask for that, they can probably get around much quicker.
As a student, like, it'll be very helpful if we have free transit because it gives us like less things to worry about than always thinking of where or how we're gonna get home.
We need a free public transit system.
I'm Sharito, I live in Tempe. Well, I consider myself multiracial, third cultured kid. I use public transportation because it's what I have. A challenge of public transportation is you don't know when the bus is gonna come. You have to wait at a stop and it could be 20 plus minutes, 30 plus minutes. You don't really know when it's actually coming. You're sweating. You're really hoping that you're gonna make it home because you don't know if you're gonna pass out. I'm recovering from sepsis. Like, I did almost die a few months ago, so like with the heat, it just makes it so much more scary. And then you just wait and wait and wait and wait. It's not an inconvenience, I'm actually scared for my life. Like I actually genuinely fear for my life and I'm thankful every time I get home. A change I would like to see is people waiting max 10 minutes for the next bus, especially in this heat when it's dangerous for us to be outside for so long. So it would be great if there could be more frequency. I mean, you know, every 10, 15 minutes, that'd be great. Resentful as sometimes I can feel towards having to take public transportation, I understand that actually the resentment really comes from the structure and the bigger societal issues rather than public transportation itself. I've gotten to meet and have incredible conversations with Arizonans and I feel like it's really helped me integrate into this society because people are really loving and like we're all there in it together. We need a public transit system with more frequent routes.
I'm Julian Cepeda. I've been living in Phoenix for 22 years. I identify as an immigrant. I identify as non-binary. I also identify as a person with a disability. I've been relying on public transportation since I was a teenager. And I rely on the bus, on the light rail to get around, and mostly because I have a visual impairment. And there are many challenges with my impairment and getting around. Sometimes I won't see the streets where I'm at, and a lot of times the buses don't have a working voice system. It's a challenge to know where I'm getting off. When buying a ticket at the kiosk, especially along the light rail, sometimes I'm not able to see the screen where you buy the ticket. You have to select. And as you can see, the kiosk does not work. The screen is super blurry. I'm not able to see what selection I'll be pressing if I want to press here. The buses take forever. I'll be waiting for 30 minutes out in the heat when it's like 105 outside, so that's very frustrating and it's dangerous too for my health and the health of everyone else that takes public transportation. Our public transit system must be accessible to all riders.
My name is Jess. I've lived in Phoenix for 13 years. I am a member of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm a non-binary lesbian. I'm also a community organizer, and I love to be in just around community. For a long time, I didn't have a choice. Currently, I do choose to ride my bike. I think there's a lot of challenges when riding your bike around Phoenix. I think first and foremost, the heat. It's very easy to get overheated. There's not a lot of shade by the sidewalks or the bike lanes. The people who are driving rarely ever see me, so I have to make sure that I'm paying attention to the cars more than they're paying attention to me. 16th Street, 7th Street, 7th Ave, there's no bike lane, so we had to be on the sidewalk. And when there are bike lanes, they don't feel safe because it's literally just lines painted on the road. Just think overall the urban sprawl isn't very friendly and it makes it more challenging to ride your bike. For example, if I wanted to go visit my grandma who only lives 8 miles away from me, on my bike with a bus would take an hour and a half. I think a lot of the other challenges would just be safer bike routes to parks and just more parks in general. I think in Phoenix we need bike lanes that have more shade. We need bike lanes that have more barriers. We need bike lanes that have routes that are going to connect us to other parts of the city. We need bike lanes that are going to connect us to our public parks and our beautiful mountains in the area. We need a public transportation system that has safe bike lanes.
I'm Trinity, my pronouns are she and they. I'm 21 years old. I'm a public transit user. I started using the bus first when I was a freshman in high school, so about 15 years old. If there was no light rail, I would be looking at a 3.5-hour bus ride just to get to Central Phoenix to see my family. One of the most difficult things for me when it comes to riding the public transit is how far sometimes the light rail or bus stop is from where I'm needing to walk. So a lot of times there isn't a bus going in the direction I need to, and I'll have to walk 20+ minutes to get to that spot before I can even get to the light rail.
So we're at 7th Ave in Camelback. This is my bus stop. Sometimes I take the light rail across the street. Sometimes I take Lyft or Ubers to where I'm going just because the bus stops are so far apart, or where I'm going, it ends and I need to finish getting there. So I'll call a Lyft to finish out the ride. We're at 7th Ave in Camelback. This is also one of my bus stops, but sometimes this spot is taken. This is the good spot because it has all the shade, because this bus faces the sun most of the day. So if this is taken, you kind of just risk getting your thighs scorched in the sun.
I would like to see more routes, more frequent buses, more shade at said buses, more stops in between each stop. We need a public transit system that connects people to their destination.
Well, my name is Jose Gallegos. I've lived here my whole life. My parents are immigrants and I'm the first child of theirs born here. If I could change anything in Phoenix, it would be the rent control and the housing crisis. Before the change in Roosevelt Row, it was, of course, mainly families, large families, Hispanic families, a lot of indigenous families as well. After I had graduated, so probably 2015, 2017 was the time that I noticed less and less small housing and more developments.
All right, so right now we're on 4th Street and Roosevelt. It still is a cultural hotspot, but the biggest change and the worst change is that it's nothing but luxury apartments, nothing but luxury condos. No one can afford to live there. No one that actually lives and grew up here in Phoenix can.
And then I've noticed that the families that do stay in Roosevelt are typically squeezed in between 7th Street and 12th Street in those areas. And I noticed that those areas are probably getting bought out too. We need houses for every last person here. We need affordable rent. We need controlled rent. We just need a Phoenix that is livable for everyone. We need affordable housing and rent control.
My name is Vania Guevara. I am 35 years old and I've lived in Phoenix since 2010. While I'm at the park, I love connecting with trees, no matter what they look like. Like I literally love walking and putting my hand up against a tree and, offer a prayer or just meditate. My experience accessing parks is very frustrating. It's about a 10-minute walk to get to my local park, but it's not safe. I don't feel safe when I'm walking there. Cars go by really fast. I can literally smell the exhaust and the fumes. The park closest to me is not as accessible as, let's say, the one in my parents' neighborhood or like others. Environmental racism is very real. Like there are systems in place that, whether intentional or not, that perpetuate an obstruction, a lack of access to things that should be easily and readily available to our people in our community. And there's a connection between access to park and nature and life expectancy. And so if you look in Black and brown communities, there's no trees, there's no nature, and how much of that, I always often think, I'm like, was that done on purpose? All our parks should be open during daytime hours and our amenities should be accessible. So if I could change it, I would want as many trees as possible that are native to the desert, that don't require a lot of water. We need more parks in our communities because for some people, it's a very long walk to get to their local park.
Here in the city of Phoenix, when we talk about safety, in particular public safety, it is often in the form of policing. Policing communities, policing transit, parks. Here at Chispa Arizona, we're trying to reimagine what safety looks like by redefining safety as being safe from extreme heat, being safe from poor air quality, having pedestrian safety, and having mobility to be able to get to where you need to go. One of the communities that is most impacted is our unsheltered community. Many folks who don't have a home are criminalized when seeking shade at parks, when seeking shade at transit stops.
Because if you're there too long underneath a tree, or you're sleeping or whatever, because it's so hot, and then you gotta deal with the police coming out there getting mad because they're getting repeatedly called for people just parking, sitting there because there's no relief.
A common experience for many public transit users is harassment from the very mechanisms that are meant to keep people safe.
The security doesn't really make me feel all that safe. There have been instances where I have had to run away from light rail stops because someone was chasing me. They're not really watching for, situations that could be hostile or stuff like that. They're kind of more focused on just kicking people out if they don't have the fare.
The city of Phoenix uses policing as a strategy to solve so many problems that policing does not solve. We need the city of Phoenix to invest in complete streets, like a reliable, free public transit system that's electric, Streets that are safe to bike on, safe to walk on, like public parks that are open to all, regardless of who you are, because every resident of our community deserves access to public parks and to shade. I hope that the city of Phoenix can hear these stories and really start to understand what type of investments are needed to keep our community safe.
Hi, everybody. How was the film? Did you enjoy it? I'm gonna cry if I say anything else. So what I would like to do right now is invite everybody who was part of our production team up to the stage real quick so that everybody can give them a huge round of applause. So Justine, Noemi, come up here. Dane, come up here. Is Joel here? No? Okay. Joel is here in spirit. Come on up, y'all. Come on up. I want to give a huge, huge shout out to Justine Garcia, our videographer for the film. I want to give a huge shout out to Dane, our communications intern, who helped keep me organized, and there's a lot going on. So a big shout out to Noemi Gonzalez, our photographer for the project and the brains behind our live stream that's happening online right now. To Nuvia, our communications director. And am I missing anybody else, y'all? The Chispa team in general. Everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you all so much. And I'm now going to invite our storytellers to come up on stage. If y'all could join me, we're going to start our panel discussion in just a minute.
I'm going to go every other person who's going to share mics. I'm going to leave them on. So
Oh, yeah. So don't say any secrets into the mic. That was awesome. We can pass the mic.
All right, y'all. Can we have a round of applause for our amazing community storytellers? Thank you all for being so vulnerable, for sharing your stories with us. We're really excited to have a conversation with you all today about reimagining public safety. And we have a lot to talk about. We learned a lot in those videos, hopefully. So I'm going to get us started. Hold on. All right. So the first question, we're just going to go down the line. And I'd like you to introduce yourself, tell us your name, pronouns, and if you could share your favorite part of the film or your favorite part of the filming experience.
Well, I guess always go first. My name's Cameron Thompson. I'm here in Arizona, and I'm glad to be part of this. And best thing about doing the film was with everyone that gathered here today. Yeah, I guess that's about it. And, doing the film with you and stuff. That's for sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jess. I use they, them pronouns. And my favorite part of the film was probably, the filming was probably like the cars and were actually looking at me because there was a bunch of cameras. So they were like, oh, there's someone on a bike. That would probably be my favorite part.
Hello, my name is Maite, pronouns they, she. And my favorite part about the film was just, I don't know, just doing the whole thing and showing like the crew where I'm at all the time and just like romanticizing my light rail walk. For sure, main character energy, big.
Hi, I'm Jose Gallegos, and my pronouns are he, him, and I think my favorite part was honestly just getting directed. You guys are really good at what you do, so it was cool to be like an instrument for that. This was cool.
Hi, I'm Trinity, pronouns she and they. I think my favorite part, it goes for filming and both watching it. I feel like there's just a lot of humanity in it and a lot of heart. And it was just cool to see people that like share the same experiences I do. So that was really cool.
Hi, my name is Leah. I use she, he. My favorite part about the film was actually like the audio being placed together and actually like collabing it with the background of the character around the story.
Hi, y'all. Good evening. I'm Julian. Pronouns he, they. He and they, them. And my favorite part of the filming was getting film. It was quite interesting having sharing that space with the camera and just everyone looking at me and my regular day-to-day walk. It was I normally feel like I walk alone, but this time I was like walking with a lot of eyes on me, so that was fun. And it was a great experience to also have the crew experience like my day-to-day.
Hey everyone, my name is Cheryl. I also go as Cherito. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I think the best part was kind of like the conversations that we had while we were filming and walking around. Like it was just like, I don't know, kind of a bizarre experience for me, I guess, because I'm used to kind of like scurrying here, scurrying there. I don't like to be seen too much when I'm on public transportation, so to be like, a lot of attention. But it was cool. It was cool to get to know everyone that was directing and producing and filming, so I appreciated that.
Hi everyone, Vania Guevara, she, her, ella. I have two favorites. The first one being, I love working with creatives like Justine and Noemi. I've had the honor and privilege of working with them both, and they do beautiful, captivating, breathtaking work. So to be a part of that, it was like a favorite for me. But also my debut as a storyteller and being called a storyteller and sharing my story with you all, and just the importance of our roles in our community. And honestly, like, it's so powerful. More than legislation or policy is really the power of our voices and our stories. So to see that highlighted in such a beautiful, artistic way through Justine's work is my favorite thing. Also.
Hi everybody, my name's Justine Garcia, but I go by Juju. She, her pronouns, and I would say my favorite part of the production was really working with all the storytellers. And in particular, like being on site with all the different areas, so at the light rail stops, at the bike lanes, and just really being able to think creatively with the team on how to capture those realistically. Just really appreciated that whole experience.
Thank you, storytellers. Thank you, Justine. And Justine, while we're still on you, I have a question that's specific to you. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience with filming these stories, and like what is something new that you learned throughout this process?
Yeah, so I want to thank Chispa for trusting me to take on this project. It was a really big project, 10 stories and technically 20 videos. So just thank you for trusting in me and for the team that I worked with. Sosan, Noemi, Nuvia, everybody on the team really did great creative direction on how to tell these and really educated me more on like how these issues needed to be told, and like doing that in a way with intention and doing that without exploiting experiences as well. I think that's really important. And also being, you know, in these spaces when we were at the light rail stops and at these places, like these are all of y'all's experiences, but these are the experiences of people throughout Phoenix. And so how do we represent those to really educate people on what's really happening in our streets and in our city? So just really appreciate the collaboration and how we were able to capture that realistically. And finally, I just want to say that like all of our storytellers were really amazing. And I want to thank each of them because during the interview process, which Sosan did such a good job, you know, there were moments where y'all were really vulnerable and shared how these broken systems like cause a lot of harm. And I think personally for me, that's hard to share. And then doing that on camera, I think that's really special. And also like, it makes a huge impact on how these stories came out and how they're told and how we're educating our city and the leaders of Phoenix. So I just want to say thank you to you all and thank you to everybody for having me. And yeah, thank you.
I love what you said, Justine, about not telling stories in a way that is exploitative, because our communities are resilient, but we also deserve better. And we can tell our stories in a way that reflects that. So I want to also say thank you to all of the storytellers for your vulnerability. I know when I did my audio part, I started crying because it was just so much. So I totally felt what you all felt as well. And I appreciate you for that. My next question is going to be for the group. So anyone who would like to answer, feel free. This question is, how do you define public safety?
Public safety is like a big issue because sometimes like young teenagers like myself, they feel uncomfortable, like they get glances, like something's not good is gonna happen. So that's how I feel most of the time when I take photo catch it. Like sometimes it makes people very insecure to take the bus. Sometimes they literally have to look like each way, their back, their sides, to make sure nobody grabs them, or like I kind of feel it just like very like not safe at all, especially at night too.
Thank you for bringing that up. I fear the police and the guards because they're creeps. Oh my God. They are creepy. They are creepy. I'm gonna leave it there.
Thank you, Sherito. Thank you, Leah. Anybody else want to define how public safety means to you?
I think public safety for me is just having just like bare necessities, like access to just like, you know, food, water, and, you know, the bare minimum. Like that's what I define as like public safety, and feeling that in that space of safety.
Okay, I got something. I feel that public safety is the issue simply because we need to watch each other. That's what that is. If we all watch each other, everybody be safe. So that's what I gotta say about that.
And to me, public safety is being able to have a sidewalk that's walkable, that you don't have to think of a way to like cross the sidewalk, you know, by going around, and that potentially could lead to an accident. I like to jog sometimes as well, and it's hard to pace yourself because you have to stop and find a way to get through a trench that's not supposed to be there. So, I mean, public safety could be visible like that, but it is also not visible where you're walking late at night, because a lot of us take public transportation to get from either work to back to the house, or from the house to run an errand. And sometimes you have to think about the time that you have to leave your house, because obviously it's not safe around the neighborhood where we live sometimes, and it's not because we're not watching each other, but it's also because we have to watch out for the police that are patrolling the area.
Of course.
I try my best as much as possible when talking in public spaces what community safety is, and it's being here with you all, being with the people in my community, my team, my family, and just having stuff like this. It means making sure we have access to trees, nature, parks, that our streetlights are working, and as much as possible, sort of redefine and rethink the way we talk about public safety, and not even mention police, and not even mentioning guns or anything like that. I think is a way in my practice that I try to reshape the narrative about community safety is what I try to say. But anyway, I think, yeah, it's important to start with things that we deserve and not just settle for the bare minimum, and just imagine and envision communities that we see ourselves thriving in that should be easily accessible.
We got us, right? We got us. Does anyone else want to answer that question? Go ahead.
I think you made a really good point in your video where you said where you have as little to worry about besides just getting from point A to B is really when it comes down to it. You shouldn't have to worry about, if you're already worrying about how to get from home to work or to anywhere else, then you shouldn't have to worry about things like clean air, like rescue from the sun, water, or having to wait so long and like alone at bus stops. So I think if it comes down to it, you shouldn't have to worry about things that are already outside of your control. So.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you, everybody. All right. Are we ready to move to the next question?
Oh, I was just going to add one
Of
more
course,
thing.
Jess.
Just one more thing to add that wasn't mentioned is that particularly on the light rails and the buses, mental health is extremely criminalized, and people who are homeless are extremely criminalized, people who have drug dependencies or use drugs. And so I think that's also part of how we keep each other safe, is to make sure that, you know, our communities don't have access to resources, but we need to change that, so that way, you know, like the people in our families aren't struggling with that.
Can I add one more thing?
Of course.
Okay, one last thing. Public safety, definitely it's on my mind when I think about the summer here. It's like 105, 110 outside, and I try to avoid leaving my house when it's, you know, the triple digits outside and it's really hot. It's not safe to be outside walking around and waiting for the bus. So I don't think, you know, I think that comes to mind when I think about public safety, that it's not there when it comes to the heat.
Thank you all for your thoughtful responses. I appreciate your definitions of safety. My next question is also for anyone who would like to respond. The Phoenix Police Department has a budget of $850 million, about half of the city's entire budget. Considering the fact that public transit, parks, affordable housing, and homeless services are underfunded, 1, what is your reaction to hearing this figure? And 2, what are your feelings about the Phoenix Police? For the panel, y'all.
I'm not surprised at hearing that number. I think my only question is, where does it go? Because I don't see cops doing anything really besides patrolling or bothering people. So, but if I think about what could happen with all that money, I would just think like, dang, so much could be changed like instantaneously, you know? So I think the general public thinks that policing is required to push back on things like criminal or crime or stuff like that, but we forget that the root cause of it is poverty. So if we just took all that money out and just put it where it needs to go, then things would just be a lot better, really a lot faster.
I have an opinion about where some of that money goes. Definitely them little shiny badges, them little fancy linen iron uniforms, the drones they have, all this like unnecessary stuff. What'd you say?
The salary raises.
Salaries, like all of that stuff. So we definitely keep naming them. Go ahead. But yeah, like I mean, you touched it perfectly. I just wanted to add that.
I want to add to picking off what what he was saying. When you think about the resources that police use, it's, well, we all know what the police does, but they don't, when they're called onto a site scene, like the scene or the crime, quote unquote, already happened. So it's not like they're preventing things from happening. They're not. They're just get there to make things worse. So it's not like they're resolving an issue. They're just coming to react to the issue, in which in many cases it just gets worse when they're there, to be honest. So instead, so it's very upsetting to know that the money goes to races. It goes to their department to increase the number of policing and the cars, and they replace their fuel tanks and all of that. So it's very frustrating when you think about how the police works, and it's frustrating that they're not putting the resources back into the community, where we're saying like what the community needs. We need mental health. We need more affordable housing. We need accessible to public transportation, more access to resources that we don't have because the police keeps taking out the money for their budget.
And I want just to add, like, seeing the police always coming all the time for us is just so wrong. And they need to be able to determine between our mental health issues and criminal issues that they're supposed to be policing for. If you see somebody doing something, but it's not hurting no one, just see them doing drugs or just out there drinking, not causing a problem, it shouldn't be a problem. But when the police come, if they already left, or if they're still there, you leave, you need to leave now. That's like demonizing us and feel like we're not people at all. Like, to the day, I'm still homeless, and I get that all the damn time, everywhere I go, like, literally. So I just know that with all that money they have, they could at least put some of that money into places where we can go to not criminalize anything or anything like that. A place we can get something to eat, something to drink. We're not stealing from stores or anything like that. So I think that's maybe what we need to concentrate on too.
I can go. I would love to see some of that money reinvested into the way our city is designed. Our city doesn't look like a desert, and it's sad. I think when we're here, we see so many beautiful plants of the Sonoran Desert, and we don't see that a lot around the city. And so I would really love to see a lot of that money put back into planting trees. If we have to tear up some parking lots and make them more of a desert landscape, because that's where we live, in the desert. And that would also help with a lot of the issues that we have, like the urban heat island effect and pedestrian safety, I think, as well, if we prioritize pedestrians and public transportation.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, everyone. Just to repeat the question again for the rest of the team, for the rest of the storytellers, what's your reaction to hearing that $850 million figure, and what are your feelings about the Phoenix Police Department?
Hi. What I think about the Phoenix Police Department, they're kind of doing the opposite of their job. Like, they're protected under a badge, but what are we protected? We're protected with basically nothing. Like, they're not acknowledging our rights. They're not acknowledging the amendments that we have as people, as one. And it's kind of sad to see, like, they're putting away people that sometimes they're minding their own business. They're not causing a commotion. They're just minding their own business. And then when they get caught by the police, they're going away for they don't know how long. And it's just sad to see their life be taken away with the snap of a finger. Or should I say locked up in general.
Thank you, Leah. It is really unfortunate the way that the city criminalizes people for simply being poor. It's heartbreaking at times. So thank you.
Just really briefly, one of my civil rights heroes, he's an attorney who founded the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama, talks about policing and just the way it works. As he says that slavery never ended, it's just evolved. And he talks about, I mean, it may not be common knowledge, I'm not sure, but when you look at the history of policing and police departments, they were started to capture and chase enslaved people. And so when I think of just police departments in general, it's just perpetuating white supremacy and the idea of capturing people of color and locking them up. And yeah, it's not a good thought. And I think the more we talk about that, the more our stories matter and the more we hopefully change this. And so that's why these conversations are so important. But yeah, I just wanted to share that.
So I shared in the video that I had sepsis in May, and like that's a really bad infection, and I was hospitalized, and I didn't want to go to the hospital because I was like, oh my god, that bill. And then like this person was like, your life is worth more than money, and I was like, F that. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, let me die now. Like, but so there was one day in the summer, it was like 115 degrees or something, and I was in Tempe, and I didn't see the cop hiding behind the bushes. Why was he doing that? I still don't know. But I didn't wait for the light because I was hot and I had many blocks to walk, and I had a lot of pain that day. And there was like many months where like every day I was scared I was gonna have to be hospitalized again because I had to keep monitoring it, and I still even to this day like have to monitor a lot of stuff. But I thought that the do not cross sign was a suggestion. I didn't know that you were trespassing. I didn't know it was bad to walk over it. Anyways, so I just walked over. There was no cars. And I walked past, and I didn't see the cop car. And I felt a car following me, and as, you know, someone that has experience, you know, I'm sure a lot of, you know, sometimes you get followed. And so I just felt someone following me, and I was like, just keep walking straight, just keep walking straight. And I had these like Bluetooth, and I saw this like older like lady in front of me that was also taking, you know, she was walking, had all these bags, and she started running. She got spooked, and I was like, uh-oh, who's behind me? And I looked, and it was a cop who was like kind of creeping behind me. And then he comes out of the car with all this stuff, and he comes up to me. He's like, "You speak English?" And I was like, And I was so tempted to say no, and I was gonna fake the accent. And I was like, But then I was like, no, then I'm gonna find myself being deported. You know what I mean? So I was just like, yeah, no. So I just was staring at him, and you know, I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm just really scared right now. You know, my voice was like kind of, and he was like, you know, just like asking me all these questions, and he asked for my ID, and then he asked if I had a valid pass for the light rail, and I did, and I was like, I mean, in my head I was like, motherfucker, here you fucking. But I was in his face, I was like, you know, like really cool, and you know, try not to get. And then afterwards, he did the whole thing, told me about the ticket I got, and I wanted to explain to him like, look, my organs are frying right now. Like, I really would like to walk these other 5 to 6 blocks that I gotta walk. Like, I need to get to air conditioning, but I didn't say that. I just stood there being like, And then he explained to me, he was like, this is for your safety. This is for your safety. I was like, dude, I could see that there were no cars. Like, I don't know. I just kind of like the whole thing. Like, you gotta respect that we are intelligent people. You know, like obviously, like we have dignity. Like obviously, we're adults. Like, stop treating us like children. Like, you're not our dads. Like, or whatever. Like, I don't know. So.
Thank you so much, Charito, and thank you for sharing also your story of your health scare with us and your vulnerability. I appreciate it. Would anyone else like to answer the question before I move on?
I just think it's so frustrating when you hear, like, when I, like, hear that number, and then it's like, I take the Lyro for, like, 8 years now, and you're just like, damn, like, this doesn't work, this never works, like, this is always broken. Like, there, even one year, so my green card had expired, and the machine wasn't even working, and I couldn't buy, you know, the Lyro pass, and I was literally so terrified because, like, my citizenship was denied twice, and so we were going through this whole process. I'm now a citizen, became a citizen like 5 years ago. And it was just so scary because, like, for a whole year, I was just, you know, like, sometimes sneaking it. Most of the time, like, I'd have to buy a pass, but it's just like, bro, like, there's always gonna be a security or a cop there, and it's just like, you're literally, like, it's so scary. It's so fucking scary because they don't do their job, whatever job that fucking is, like, and I don't know. It's just scary. Nothing works. And they have all this money and tanks and cars and shit sitting there, and just a headache. Like, I can't.
It's a mess.
It's a whole mess. Like,
It's
I
a
can't
whole
do it.
ass mess.
So, was the last part of the question like where do you see where we like to see the money going?
No, that's the next question.
Okay.
I just want to add one more thing. I wanted to give Senator-elect Hernandez a shout out because she ran on and won with like sporting his T-shirt that said "Defund the Police."
Woo!
And so that's definitely a breath of fresh air. I'll never forget it. I was like, "Is that a Dodger logo?" No, it says, which I support, but defund the police straight up, and we have a champion right here for that. So I'm really excited.
We have a champion who's going to be in the state legislature next year, y'all. How exciting. We're so proud of you.
So, yeah, thank you so much for your stories, for your storytelling. When I first heard that number, and as I've learned of how much money police gets and doesn't actually provide public safety, is one of the reasons that I decided to run for office, to share my story of that, right? Phoenix police killed my little brother 3 years ago, and that's what got me into this movement. Also, constitutionally, they don't have to protect us. So that's a lie and a facade that they cover behind. They get all this money, but they legally do not have to protect us. So when we don't have the resources we need, it's so important to share our stories and share our voice, because that is one of the most powerful tools we have. And you as youth are gonna change that. So thank you for sharing this and for being so vulnerable and for opening yourself up to talk about the real experiences that we struggle with. Like Sasan said, we're resilient, but we deserve better than crumbs. So thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm going to move us on to the next question just for the sake of time. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses. So my next question, we got a little ahead of ourselves. Y'all are already reimagining what our community could look like. But the next question is for everyone again. And it is also a call on our elected officials to reimagine public safety. What investments from local leaders would help you feel safe? And where would you like to see policing funding reinvested?
I think that, yeah, we need to have more nature. I think we were talking about having more like indigenous plants around. I think that's like super important. I also think that if there's gonna be police, like why don't they invest in training them to make them like actually, you know what I mean? Like training them to actually serve the people, or I don't know, diverse. I don't know. Like I just feel like I've traveled a lot. I've been in a lot of places, and like, you know, the fact that like it's nice that in like when I studied abroad in Chile, like that there's like mini markets and street food, and there's vegan options even in the street food, and like I don't know, like it would be nice that like there would just be like so much like I wish there was more colors and more, you know, I just feel like everywhere I go here is just like concrete, and it's like it just reflects the sun back into you, and you're hungry, you're thirsty, and I think like as you were mentioning like the water stations, it's just like what like why can't we invest in like, I don't know, just like having the earth be able to regenerate itself, or having people be able to like take care of themselves, and investing in the ecosystem that like we naturally have a connection with. Just I don't know. I had a long day, but you get my drift.
Yeah, like, and add on what you said, like, more trees, more fresh air, because, hello, it's free air. You don't have to pay for it. Come on. It does, not yet. Not yet. Well, we're not getting there. Not anytime soon. So, also, would I like that money to go to, like, more water stations for, like, the homeless, so they could, like, refill any bottle or even clean it out, so they can have fresh water everywhere they go and not be left out. Shoot, yeah, true.
I think we should also invest in for example, during the summer, you know, everyone's always, you know, go to the library to like seek the shelter, to seek like a cool space. And they should just invest in like more spaces like that, or invest into like the spaces that are already built for people, you know, like a lot of unsheltered people go to the library because like that's the only place that they're welcome. You know, in some spaces they're not welcome, And we should just always, like, especially in Arizona, we should have little spaces where you can, like, rest or, you know, free to public and just, you know, cool spaces.
I would add to adding on to what everyone else is saying. One of the goals of the Clean and Green campaign is public transportation that's free for everyone in the state, and we saw that happen. We saw that it happened during the pandemic. The city of Phoenix was giving free rides to people, and I took advantage of that. Every single time I'm like, am I taking the bus anywhere today? Because I didn't have to pay for it. And so we saw that it's possible, and that's where we could put the money back, back into the public transportation that's renewable, that runs on renewable energy, and that's free. Because like someone else mentioned, we already pay for public transportation in taxes, so I don't know why we have to pay for it on top of that. Yeah. So it would be really nice to see that resource really put it back into the community.
For sure. Mobility is a human right under like international law. We all are entitled to the right to have mobility. And in the city of Phoenix, effectively, if you don't have a car and you don't have money, you don't have mobility. You don't have a basic human right that is guaranteed to everybody around the world. So thank you, Julian. Jess, did you want to say?
Yeah, I can go next. I already sort of touched on this earlier, but I'll add 2 things. I think one would be housing. Like, there's no reason why people should be living outside. I mean, if they want to, I think that's fine. But I know why, like, in capitalism, like, we have winners and we have losers, obviously. But I think it would be really nice to have housing for everyone. And I think another thing would be just the public transportation system to be more reliable. There's a reason why people don't want to use it. There's a reason why, we have more people in cars if we live in a very car-centric culture. And so I think if we can make our system better, I think bus lanes, I'm like a huge advocate of bus lanes. I think if we had bus lanes on every street and every route, the bus would be flying by everyone sitting in their cars. And then we could really like make a big cultural shift into people using the public transportation system.
I love that answer, Jess. Thank you so much. We could change the way people choose to get around in this city if we actually invested in a system that people could use. And how different would our streets look? How different would our air quality look? And also, as Charito mentioned in their story, it's an opportunity to meet your community, to interact with people, to have conversations and be in community together. So how different could the culture of our city look? Thank you, Jess. It looks like Justine wants to say something.
Yeah, going off the free public transit, this week, the council in Washington, D.C. was just presented with a camp for free public transit throughout all of Washington, D.C. and a $10 million investment into their bus lines. 12 of those lines would be 24 hours. So it is possible, and that's a great example of how that could be implemented into a large city like this. So just wanted to highlight that, and that's really exciting to see. And also, like, while we were recording, at these bus stops, we were there to see, like, buses would show up every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. So if we could have more buses and more routes, and also just paying the workers more, and giving them all raises, because they do a really hard job, like, running the public transit. So just wanted to mention that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Justine. Anyone else want to add?
I just kind of beat me to it. Just affordable housing completely. I don't know what methods to do to really take care of the houseless population, but I know that with all that money, there are 1,000,001 ways probably. So I just think it should be put to them, to the most vulnerable.
As we said in the video, rent has shot up 30% here in Phoenix in just the past year, which is double the national average. Rent is going up everywhere, but here in Phoenix, it's pricing a lot of folks out of their housing, and our local officials aren't doing anything to ensure that people have rent control, to build more affordable housing. What we see is construction of luxury apartments that often remain vacant, and it's very disappointing.
I also want to mention streetlights. Like, it'd be dark as hell. Like, so streetlights would be nice, because those could be eco-friendly as well. That, don't give off too much. Solar, we have lots of sun. That would be great. Also want to mention that anti-houseless architectures everywhere. One of the first things that comes to mind is the benches, that they built the rail that goes over it so that folks don't lay on them. And then on top of that, redlining so that unhoused people can't go within certain borders. Just wanted to shine some light on those.
Yeah. And I wanted to shine some light on the parks. At the parks, it would be a lot more easier if we had little showers during the summertime. I just put shower, more water fountains. At mine park we have a splash pad. It's only on during the summer, and that's what everyone in the community goes to either get out the cool, to shower up, to be able to do things out there, because we do live in a hot state, and we constantly gotta take showers and stuff like that, and that would be good. Also, they charge to have outlets that work, not just for 20, 30 days or just whenever they feel like turning it off, because you're just sitting there too long charging your phone because you have nothing else to do. So that also would be good for the transit too, because during the time you on the transit, you're able to go do stuff, use the restroom, maybe shower up or whatever, and maybe get back on the transit. Maybe other people on the transit don't want to smell other people on there. Well, it would be sense to be able to make a shower for them, so maybe they could and not smell bad or anything. So that's for sure.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, everyone. This is going to be our last question, and then we can take some questions from the audience. I'm going to wait for this airplane to pass. We are on the pathway of the airport's departure flights, though, because the airport's over there. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, so my last question is for the group. Through this film and panel, we've connected the intersection between public transit, parks, housing, public safety, and how those factors contribute to extreme heat, poor air quality, a lack of mobility, and environmental racism here in Phoenix. It's not a coincidence that everybody on this stage is a person of color. So here at Chispa Arizona, we're fighting for environmental justice for our community. And the last question I want to ask all of you is, what does environmental justice mean to you? The last question from me, and then we're going to take questions from the audience.
Honestly, for me, it's this work that we do, connecting with nature, is very personal because it's been so instrumental in my mental health and just making me an overall happy, healthy individual, and recognizing that nature, trees are sentient. They have feelings too. We can connect with them. I don't know if y'all saw the TikTok trends where people were actually talking to nature. I pray with my tree trunk. I hold it and I squeeze it. And I think for me, it's people being able to access nature whenever, however they can, to be able to. There's studies that show, I think there's a new form of psychology. It's called eco-psychology. They're still figuring it out, but they've studied the impacts of access to nature. And so when I think of, I guess for me personally, environmental justice is simply being able to freely exist as we are. Like trees, we're enough. We are rooted. We come from lineages of beautiful ancestors who have worked really hard for us to stand strong. And so I think environmental justice for me means being able to just live freely and be like a tree and get watered sometimes and maybe hugged. I don't know.
Thank you, that was beautiful. I think that environmental justice has a lot to do with decolonization. Because, when you go to the fancy part of town, why does it look like some English, I don't know, well, that's kind of weird. Isn't this Arizona? But it's all of a sudden it's I don't know, the countryside of Scotland or something. I don't know why it's covered in green and water, and it's wait a minute, wait, what? So I think it has a lot to do with decolonization and indigenizing food systems, because that's responsible in so many different ways. And yeah, who's next?
I think to me, environmental justice kind of touches on the fact that
the first results of capitalism and climate collapse is going to be on the most vulnerable. So recognizing that that's where the consequences are going to start, and finding a way to, I really don't know how to handle that, just deflect on that, I guess. So that's what it means to me.
Build resiliency. And some communities already are being directly impacted. As we saw in the film, over 339 people died on the streets of Phoenix last year due to heat, and I think there are about 80 to 90 cases that are still under investigation, so potentially over 400 people. And this year, I think the numbers are on trajectory to exceed that record. And so there are people who are already being directly impacted by the climate crisis. Thank you.
Are we going in online? Okay.
Whoever, yeah.
For me, environmental justice means a lot, but the first thing that came to mind, it's not having borders and being able to go back home whenever my heart desires, because back home, which is Mexico, it's where I connected with Mother Earth. I connected with the animals, the plants, through my grandparents. They're the ones who taught me to care for nature and to connect with it. And so not being able to move freely, whether, moving up north in the U.S. or down south to Mexico, like, there shouldn't be a border that separates people, and everyone should be freely to move wherever they want to in the world to be able to experience nature. And so when we're able to do that, we're able to decolonize ourselves. We're able to decolonize the idea of belonging to a country and not being able to migrate whenever you want to, whenever your heart desires. And so that, to me, means environmental justice.
I think environmental justice for me means, not only holding larger corporations, accountable and, letting them know what's up, and also just, really engaging with your community and coming together to help each other, because I feel like no one else is gonna do it, like higher power or whatever. And it's just crazy because, like, going back to what he said about, like, the border, I'm from Nogales, and just being there and, like, seeing all the trees and all the mountains and hills, it really does make you feel better. And I think that, like, people say, like, touching grass, you know what I mean? Go touch some grass. Because, like, it feels good. And, like, to have, like, the dirt under your feet, or, like, something, like nature under your feet is just so, it's a different feeling. And like when you just constantly walking on concrete, like you don't really feel grounded. And yeah, I just think like those three things. But yeah, that's what that means to me.
Thank you, Maite. We as people, we're not meant to not be outside. Like, we're meant to experience the outdoors as part of our wellness, our mental health, our everything. So thank you, Maite. Trinity, you look like you want to answer. And then Leah?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Okay. Something that I think about constantly, and it like really like lights is like I get so excited about it. Homie in the gold, like what you said, like resonated with me, because I think about how, someone in like that fancy countryside that you mentioned, right? They ride their bikes to work and they're seen as an environmentalist. And then all of a sudden, people like us are taking the bus and the light rail, and we're not an environmentalist. We're just plain broke, right? Like, that's what it is considered. So I would just like an even playing field, because even though a lot of us do not choose to take public transit, some of us do. Some of us don't. But just having equity in that, and just like having a seat at the table and acknowledging that maybe I didn't choose to take the bus, but there's still power in that. And we're environmentalists too.
All of you. All of you. Go ahead, Leah.
So what I think about environmental justice, for me, here, I'm gonna say something a little bit. So what I see the most is homeless without a roof. That's what I see most. Like, sometimes the shelters can take like so much of a quantity. For example, my dad, he's homeless. He's struggling his best to like find housing, so luckily he's about to get an apartment soon, so that's good. That's a motivation. So yeah. So I'm happy that he's gonna stay out of there. But what I see is that homeless shelters are not being more open to like certain people. They're not being more fair. Like some people, like they have levels. They have first level. You sleep on the concrete floor. That's it. You barely get electricity. You barely get plugs. Second level, you get a bed, but you have to share. You have a bunk bed. Imagine with a disability and you're in a wheelchair and you have a top bunk. How in the world are you gonna get up there? Yeah, exactly. Like every day, how are you gonna get up there? That's my question. And then, like my dad, he has to sleep with a CPAP machine. He has a disability called sleep apnea. How do you find electricity when there's no plugs near a bed, and he has to sleep with his it's difficult for him, and it's hard to afford the dilation water too, because since prices and taxes and economy is going up. Like that's what I think environmental impact is pretty much it.
Thank you, Leah. It's criminal how little the city of Phoenix has afforded or invested in affordable housing since rent has gone up, and it's created a shameful crisis, quite frankly. Would anyone else like to respond to that question before we move to questions from the audience?
I can go ahead and answer the question. I think environmental justice looks like having autonomy. It looks like self-determination. It looks like land back. I know all those are very big things to say, and they have a lot of depth in them, but I truly believe, like, if we don't have the autonomy over our bodies, right, it's a really important intersectionality with abolition and the environmental movement. Like, we can't actually have environmental justice if we are being criminalized, you know, everywhere we go, where we're being harassed. We can't even really think about having, like, what that really means if we're just trying to survive, you know? And so I think it's really important that we have those things in our community to have environmental justice.
Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you to all the panelists. We're gonna turn over a mic to the audience. And would anyone like to ask the panel a question? Alexa, our lovely Chispa National Digital Campaigns Manager. Oh, okay. First question, Cole.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. They were really informative as someone who recently moved to Phoenix, so it's nice getting to know like what the issues are here and what can be done differently. I am wondering for everyone here on the panel, as well as our state legislature who is here, what are things that someone like me who is not using public transportation can actionably do to help you all out, to make your life much easier? Anything you could think of, just anything.
The first thing I could think of, man, I understand the road rage, okay? Like, I get y'all be, like, honking at pedestrians, but, like, sometimes it's, like, honking, I'm just crossing those crosswalk. If I have 30 seconds, let me take my 30 seconds. Because they be honking, and I'm like, y'all are going to get to your destination way before I get to mine, so please don't honk at us. Like, please. Like, if they're playing hopscotch in front of your car, like, okay, fine, you can honk. But, like, just crossing the crosswalk, chill, chill.
Be more mindful of pedestrians.
Provide funds that will provide bus passes or public light rails. So I would say maybe look out for those. My neighbor in my seat right here might have some suggestions on who to look up. That would be able to help. So like if you're looking at it as a way to connect with groups like that, like Chispa, tap in with movement organizers that are doing the work on the ground.
Thank you, Anna. There's a lot of powerful people in this audience, so I hope that you all have some time afterwards to mingle and connect and build power together. Anyone else want to answer Cole's question?
Oh, answer.
We'll just have one more answer, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Something that every resident in the state could do, like, to help people who don't drive and normally take public transportation, is whenever there's an opportunity for you to make your voice heard and call the city of Phoenix, the Maricopa Government Associations, or anyone who controls Valley Metro, call them and let them know that you are supporting propositions that provide more resources to public transportation, that provide more frequent buses that run more frequently during the weekend. Because something that I find an issue is that on the weekends, taking public transportation takes forever. It takes like over 30 minutes to an hour for you to do 1 hour. And so that is very frustrating. And that's when we have to tap into a Lyft or Uber, whatever other alternatives we have. So if you could call and support issues that don't necessarily affect you directly, but do affect your neighbors, like, do that, because it would have helped everyone that does take public transportation. And because we call them and we tell them these issues, but they don't listen to us. So maybe they might listen to you.
Thank you, Julian. I'm going to move on to the next question just for the sake of time. And next question from the audience. Go ahead and introduce yourself when you ask the question, too. Yes.
Hello. Hi, my name is Lefty. I have the great privilege of not needing to use public transportation myself. I do live next to one of the largest encampments in downtown Phoenix, next to 12th Avenue and Madison. So what I see a lot up and down 15th Avenue and Van Buren, and what's happening right now, is the city is ripping out bus stops. There's been one that's been missing on 15th Avenue, that near that Buster's Convenience Mart, that's been gone, and I did call and ask about it and was given the runaround. Also on Van Buren, I'm noticing that a lot of the places, I don't know if they're owned privately or not, but places next to the bus stops are putting up these huge fences so people can't use the coverings. And this is like right in the center of downtown next to, like, and I see people now out in the sun. So I would like to ask you guys, do you guys see that kind of stuff happening too? Are they ripping out bus stops? Are they closing off the areas that people are using it?
I mean, they are cutting off one bus shade where around where I live. It's near a Walgreens, an abandoned Walgreens, and it's really, really hurtful to see that because it's old. Yes, the metal did rust, but just seeing it, just like trying to stand high, because it stand for over, like, I heard about 20 to 25 years it's been standing, and I'm surprised that that thing still had shade. But since now they rusted, they had to tear it down because of the rust. It might affect, chemicals can probably get into the ground. Understandable for, like, medical reasons and reasons in general. But at the same time, when you see shade, like other shades being tear down, it's kind of heartbreaking. And also, there's a bus stop near my place that there's no shade at all. There's nothing, just plain concrete, no bench. It's just tough. And an example, my dad, he has a busted knee. It's tough for him to even get around. He's just walking with his cane, and then when there's no bench, where's he supposed to sit? Where's he supposed to rest?
Right. And I believe when we sit at the bus stops for a period of long time, people who are going to catch the transportation for the ones that like asking for the help, how do we help y'all? You guys feel kind of not looked at because the bus just passes you because there's so many people at the bus stop. You're not sitting there, you're just sitting there watching your back and looking over your shoulder like, who's going to attack me? When it's more like you should be looking out for the bus because the bus driver is going to just keep going. Because of the homelessness, because there is no shades. They're ripping out bus stops, so we're gathering at places where there are shade. And the reason they're doing that is just to detour us. And we're like, what the heck is that? Like, there's no water stations hardly anymore or anything like that. Maybe the drivers in Phoenix could carry more water during the summer in their cars in case they see us standing on the street corner or whatever and give us water here and there. That would really help too. Yeah.
One more response, and then we'll move to another question from the audience or from the chat on the live stream.
It's crazy because when I used to work in Scottsdale, and there was one bus stop, and I had to run. I had to get out of work like 5 minutes earlier all the time because the last bus stop was at 10. And I literally got out of work at 10. So I would literally sprint all the way to the bus stop because after that there was no like rides to Phoenix, and it would take, and if I missed it, I would get like a $30 Uber, sometimes $50. And also sometimes when they're doing construction, they move the bus stops and it's so frustrating because sometimes the bus stops won't be in a safe area. And so one time the bus just stopped and they're like, you have to get out right here, right now. And it was in the middle of the street. It was literally in the middle of the street. I'm like, okay. So I jumped out and there's like cars coming and I have to just like run to the sidewalk. And that's like the only thing that I've seen where they change it up, but yeah, it sucks.
Thank you, Maite. One more question from the audience, maybe two. Anyone have any questions? We have a question from the chat. Okay, there are people watching us online. Say hi, everyone. There's a camera somewhere. Oh, it's over there.
It's in the back. We have two actually, and I think both can be answered in one. YouTube viewer Menix, any plans on focusing on any one of these issues and doing another film? That's question one. And then YouTube viewer Nicole Rodriguez, was it a challenge finding a guardian with small children that uses public transportation to serve as a storyteller?
I think I'm going to take both of those questions. So the first question was if we have any plans to make another film. If someone gives me money again, I'll make another film. As of now, we don't have any plans to make more content, but I've never done anything like this before. I've never produced or directed a film, so this was a learning experience for me and a humbling experience to get to work with all of these amazing storytellers. So it's definitely something I would like to do again, but I'm broke. And movies are expensive. But yes, to answer the person's question, these are all issue areas that we do advocacy around as well with our campaign. Like besides the storytelling that we've been doing, as Julian mentioned, we often are at city council, the state legislature, places where decision making is happening and letting them know what we need as a community. We also train people to go give public comment, help them with talking points of what they can say. And these spaces are very impactful for bringing about change. Like, for example, the Phoenix Go Bond is happening right now. It's a $500 million infrastructure pool of money that's supposed to go to different categories. Among them include public safety, arts and culture, homelessness, environmental sustainability. And so initially, the city of Phoenix had projected under the environmental bond $5 million to go towards fuel tank replacements for Phoenix police cars in South and West Phoenix. And they snuck that in under the environmental budget. And so with people power, we organized our members and our volunteers in our community to show up, give public comment to those committees and say, absolutely not. This is not an environmental investment. This is an investment to make policing more efficient. And so we were successful in getting the committee to scrap that project, and they are now reinvesting that $5 million into heat resiliency projects. And so that's people power right there. Like, that's some of the work we've been doing this year besides the film, and Chispa Arizona will continue to do that work as well. Could you remind me what the second question was? Yeah. So the process of finding storytellers was a long process. I wouldn't say that it was hard to find someone who has children. I think it just didn't happen. I think there was a few people we had spoken with who didn't have capacity or couldn't make the filming days. There were also some folks who, realized how vulnerable of an experience this is and felt more comfortable not doing it, and I totally respect that and understand that, and I don't want to make people tell stories they don't want to tell, of course. So it wasn't a lack of intention. It's just this is the group of people that we were able to get, and yeah, I hope that answers that question.
All right, I'm gonna ask one more time, any questions from the audience before we give our storytellers a big round of applause. All right, y'all, give it up for our storytellers. Y'all, stand up. All right, y'all. We're gonna do a quick photo of our storytellers.
Yeah, I saw people down there. Oh, sorry.
We have just a little bit more speaking program after this. Hold on. Thank you, storytellers. Thank you, y'all. Yeah, feel free to head back to your seats, and I'll close this out real quick. Or you can just leave them on the chair. Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all. I promise I'm going to stop talking really soon and let y'all go. I just want to thank our storytellers one more time. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight to be in community with us, to learn. I want to thank my parents who are here. They're visiting all the way. My parents are visiting all the way from Libya, so they came from a really far distance. Thank you guys for being here. And I also, once again, want to thank the crew, Justine, Noemi. Thank you so much for your help to bring this project together. One last thing I wanted to say to you all is we're launching our website today. It's live now. And this is where you can find all of the community stories from today, as well as just a lot of good information on what's going on, defining it's all the stuff we talked about today. Throughout the website, you'll see a few buttons that say take action here. So if you all keep scrolling a little bit down, keep going. And then it gets into our community stories as well. So there's a bunch of buttons that say take action here. Those lead you to our Clean and Green petition. We are working on a petition right now that goes to the city of Phoenix, where we are demanding complete streets. We are demanding all of the things that we talked about today. So if you live here in Phoenix, please sign that petition. There are QR codes on the sign-in table up front if you'd like to scan the petition and sign it. But you can also visit our website. It's chispaaz.org/cleanandgreen. So I want to give a big shout out to Spark Nerds. They are the web designers who helped build that beautiful website. They're not here today, but shouts out to them. Yes, and it's bilingual in English and in Spanish, so I hope you all take some time to poke around that site. So thank you all again so much for coming. This has been a really humbling experience for me. I am at a loss with words with how much support from the community that we get. So thank you all so much. We have this space until 9 o'clock. Mingle, be merry. There's some chumparado over there that Jorge made for us if you all want something warm to drink, some Mexican hot chocolate. We also have a photo area if you all would like to take some photos. Our lovely photographer Perla will be posting those photos. So over there, our complete streets image, which was drawn by Eileen Martinez, you can take some photos. And yeah, y'all, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for coming. I appreciate y'all. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care. Everybody on the Chispa team, go to the photo area now. Thank you.